Title: I Said I Was Tired, She Said, Weak Earthlings, and Locked the Door, Part 1. The locked quarter Starin pressed his hand against the smooth, metallic wall of the alien station and let out a long breath. He had been speaking for almost 10 hours. His voice was hoarse, his back ached, and his head felt heavy. He had come to the station as a representative of Earth, carrying the weight of millions of lives on his shoulders. Humanity needed an alliance with the Varen people, or they would stand no chance against the growing threats in the outer sectors. But right now, Tarin didn't care about politics. He just wanted to sleep. Across the large, circular meeting room stood Vera, the towering alien commander who had hosted him all day. She was unlike anyone Tarin had ever seen before, taller than any human, with armor-like skin that shimmered like polished stone and glowing amber eyes that seemed to see right through him. Her presence was intimidating, but she spoke with an odd mix of grace and authority that demanded respect. Is that all for today? Tarin asked, forcing his voice to stay polite. I think I need to rest before we continue tomorrow. My body isn't used to your station's time cycles. For a moment, Vera said nothing. Her expression was unreadable. Then, suddenly, a deep, echoing laugh filled the chamber. Rest, she said, tilting her head slightly, as if the word itself was strange to her. You Earthlings do enjoy your rest. No wonder your species has stayed so weak for so long. Tarin blinked, unsure if she was joking. Weak, yes, weak. She stepped closer, her heavy boots clicking against the floor. You speak of great ambitions for your people. You come all this way, demanding our alliance, our resources, our trust, and after only a handful of ours, you are ready to collapse? How do you expect to stand beside us if you cannot stand at all? Tarin straightened his posture, feeling his pride stir. He wanted to argue, but exhaustion dragged on his limbs like chains. With respect, he said carefully, humans need rest to function properly. We fight better, think better, when we're not half asleep. Surely you can understand that. Her amber eyes narrowed. On Vera, we push beyond our limits. We do not stop when we are tired. We stop when the work is finished. Tarin clenched his jaw. He could feel her challenge in those words, the way she was testing him. Still, he had to be practical. Even so, he said, this work will take days, maybe weeks. If I burn out now, I won't be of any use to you or anyone. For a brief moment, he thought he saw a flicker of amusement cross her face. But then she said something that made his stomach drop. Perhaps, she said, turning toward the tall door on the far side of the room, we should make sure you do not run from your duties so easily. Before Tarin could respond, Vera tapped a panel on the wall. The massive doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a smaller chamber beyond quarters for him. No doubt. Thank you, Tarin said, relief washing over him. I'll get some rest and return tomorrow. The doors closed behind him before he could finish. He turned, confused, and heard a sharp metallic click. The lock. He tried the panel. Nothing. The doors were sealed tight. Wait, he said, pressing his hand against the door. Did you just lock this? Her voice came through a hidden speaker, calm but firm. You will remain here until I decide otherwise. Consider this a test. A test? Tarin stepped back, staring at the door as if his glare could burn a hole through it. Commander Vera, this isn't necessary. I only asked for rest. You asked to stop, she corrected. You humans always stop. But if you want our alliance, you will learn how to endure as we do. I will see what kind of strength hides in your fragile frame. Earthling. Tarin rubbed his temples. This was absurd. He had negotiated with hostile factions before. He had survived pirate threats on the outer colonies. But this being locked in a room because an alien leader thought he was too weak was new. Fragile frame, he muttered under his breath. You try living on Earth for a few thousand years and see how fragile it makes you. The room was large but empty, with only a bed-like platform, a table, and some odd alien furnishings that looked like they belonged in a museum. Tarin paced, trying to figure out what to do. There were no windows, no communication panels, no obvious way out. He slumped onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. Locked in a room by an alien who thinks I'm weak, he said aloud. Great. Start to interspecies diplomacy, Tarin. Yet, as the minutes passed, his frustration slowly turned into thought. This wasn't random. Vera wasn't just trying to humiliate him, she was measuring him. Testing him, he thought back to Earth's history: soldiers surviving impossible wars, explorers pushing into the unknown, workers building civilizations out of nothing. Humans weren't weak, they just endured differently than others. If Vera wanted to test his endurance, fine, he would pass her test still. He couldn't help but think, I really wish I'd had a chance to sleep first. Outside, in the main hall, Vera watched the security feed. She expected the Earthling to panic, or perhaps beg for release. Instead, she saw him sitting calmly, thinking. It intrigued her. Perhaps this one wasn't as soft as she believed, perhaps. Aaron woke to a strange sound. It was not an alarm, but a deep, humming vibration that echoed through the walls. It took him a moment to realize where he was. The alien quarters, the locked door, Commander Vera's test. He sat up slowly, his muscles aching. He didn't remember when he had fallen asleep, but the soft bed-like platform had been surprisingly comfortable. That, at least, was one mercy the Varans had given him. But when he glanced toward the door, he frowned. A tray had been placed on the floor inside the room. He hadn't heard the door open. He hadn't seen anyone enter. Yet there it was, strange food in shimmering containers. Tarin picked up one of the dishes and sniffed cautiously. The food was unusual. Pale purple cubes that smelled faintly of herbs, and a glowing liquid that pulsed like it was alive. He hesitated. The Varans were an advanced species. They wouldn't poison a diplomat, would they? He took a small bite. It was chewy, slightly sweet, and surprisingly good. Well, he said aloud, at least they don't want me to starve. As if responding to his words, the wall near the door lit up with an amber glow. A voice followed Vera's. You are awake, she said. Good. Tarin blinked. Are you watching me? Of course. There was no apology in her tone. You are being tested. Tarin set down the dish and crossed his arms. Tested for what, exactly? Endurance? Patience? Because I'll be honest, Commander, locking a diplomat in a room is a strange way to start an alliance. Vera's deep, rumbling laugh filled the room again. Alliance is not given to the weak, it is earned. You Earthlings come here with promises and demands. But how can we trust you if we do not know what you can endure? Tarin took a slow breath. Endure what, exactly? Long negotiations? Harsh conditions? We humans know endurance, Commander. We've survived worse than this. There was a pause. When Vera spoke again, her tone was sharper. Words are easy. You will show me with actions. Before Tarin could respond, the floor shifted beneath him. He stumbled, grabbing the edge of the bed to steady himself. The entire room began to move. What now? He muttered. The glowing panel on the wall displayed a countdown in alien symbols. But Tarin understood the meaning instantly. Prepare yourself. Moments later, the door hissed open for the first time since he had been locked inside. Tarin stepped forward cautiously. Beyond the door, a long metallic corridor stretched out, lined with strange glowing patterns. He had been in many alien stations before, but this part of the Varan ship felt different, colder, emptier, almost ceremonial. Vera's voice returned. Follow the lights. Tarin saw a series of amber lights blink along the floor, forming a path. He sighed. Of course, follow the mysterious alien lights. Why not? He walked. The corridor felt endless, the sound of his footsteps echoing around him. Finally, he entered a vast, open chamber. And froze. The room was enormous, like an arena. The walls were covered with alien carvings, and strange, floating drones hovered near the ceiling, scanning everything below. In the center of the chamber stood Vera herself, still wearing her ceremonial armor. Her arms folded. Welcome, she said, her deep voice booming across the arena. Tarin approached cautiously. Commander, you brought me here for a reason. I assume. She nodded. You claim humans know endurance. Then prove it. This arena will test you. Tarin stared at her. You locked me in a room because I said I was tired. And now you're dragging me too. What is this? A training ground? Approving ground, she corrected. Among my people. Strength is not in words, it is in what one can endure. Only those who push past their limits earn our respect. Tarin rubbed his temples. Let me guess, if I pass, we talk alliance. If I fail, you will be returned to your quarters. She said simply, that's it, no more diplomacy, no second chance. She tilted her head. Weakness does not get second chances. Tarin felt a spark of irritation, but he pushed it down. This wasn't just about pride. This was about Earth. If passing a ridiculous alien endurance test was what it took to secure humanity's future, then so be it. He straightened his back. Fine. What do I have to do? Vera gestured to the far side of the arena. The floor shifted, revealing a series of obstacles, tall walls, narrow platforms, and spinning columns covered in glowing energy. Complete the course, she said. It will not kill you, but it will push you to the edge of what your fragile body can handle. Tarin stared at it. It looked like a nightmare version of a training ground. You want me to run this? Alone? He asked. Of course, Vera said. Do you wish me to hold your hand? He shot her a look. No, I'll manage. The drones moved closer, their lights focusing on Tarin as if they were judging him already. Tarin took a deep breath. All right, let's get this over with. He stepped onto the course. The moment his foot touched the first platform, the ground shifted beneath him, nearly sending him tumbling. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to keep moving. The first obstacle was a wall taller than anything he had ever climbed. He jumped, grabbing the ledge, his muscles screaming as he pulled himself up. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an athlete. He was a diplomat. But he refused to quit. The second obstacle was worse. Narrow platforms over a deep pit filled with glowing energy. He stepped carefully, his heart pounding, his balance shaky. Halfway through, he heard Vera's voice over the speakers. Do you still wish to rest, Earthling? He growled under his breath. Not a chance. Obstacle after obstacle, Tarin pushed forward. His body ached. His breath came in sharp gasps. But he kept moving. Finally, after what felt like hours, he reached the last platform. Vera was waiting there, watching. You did not quit, she said. Her voice was calm, but there was something new in it. Approval. Tarin dropped onto his knees, gasping for air. That was horrible. Yet you endured, she said. He looked up at her, sweat dripping down his face. Does that mean I pass? Vera stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. You are not as weak as I thought, she said. Tarin forced a tired smile. I'll take that as a compliment. Aaron woke to a strange sound. It was not an alarm, but a deep, humming vibration that echoed through the walls. It took him a moment to realize where he was. The alien quarters, the locked door, Commander Vera's test. He sat up slowly, his muscles aching. He didn't remember when he had fallen asleep, but the soft bed-like platform had been surprisingly comfortable. That, at least, was one mercy the Varans had given him. But when he glanced toward the door, he frowned. A tray had been placed on the floor inside the room. He hadn't heard the door open. He hadn't seen anyone enter. Yet there it was, strange food in shimmering containers. Tarin picked up one of the dishes and sniffed cautiously. The food was unusual. Pale purple cubes that smelled faintly of herbs, and a glowing liquid that pulsed like it was alive. He hesitated. The Varans were an advanced species. They wouldn't poison a diplomat, would they? He took a small bite. It was chewy, slightly sweet, and surprisingly good. Well, he said aloud, at least they don't want me to starve. As if responding to his words, the wall near the door lit up with an amber glow. A voice followed Vera's. You are awake, she said. Good. Tarin blinked. Are you watching me? Of course. There was no apology in her tone. You are being tested. Tarin set down the dish and crossed his arms. Tested for what, exactly? Endurance? Patience? Because I'll be honest, Commander, locking a diplomat in a room is a strange way to start an alliance. Vera's deep, rumbling laugh filled the room again. Alliance is not given to the weak. It is earned. You Earthlings come here with promises and demands. But how can we trust you if we do not know what you can endure? Tarin took a slow breath. Endure what, exactly? Long negotiations? Harsh conditions? We humans know endurance, Commander. We've survived worse than this. There was a pause. When Vera spoke again, her tone was sharper. Words are easy. You will show me with actions. Before Tarin could respond, the floor shifted beneath him. He stumbled, grabbing the edge of the bed to steady himself. The entire room began to move. What now? He muttered. The glowing panel on the wall displayed a countdown in alien symbols. But Tarin understood the meaning instantly. Prepare yourself. Moments later, the door hissed open for the first time since he had been locked inside. Tarin stepped forward cautiously. Beyond the door, a long metallic corridor stretched out, lined with strange glowing patterns. He had been in many alien stations before, but this part of the Varen ship felt different, colder, emptier, almost ceremonial. Vera's voice returned. Follow the lights. Tarin saw a series of amber lights blink along the floor, forming a path. He sighed. Of course, follow the mysterious alien lights. Why not? He walked. The corridor felt endless, the sound of his footsteps echoing around him. Finally, he entered a vast, open chamber. And froze. The room was enormous, like an arena. The walls were covered with alien carvings, and strange, floating drones hovered near the ceiling, scanning everything below. In the center of the chamber stood Vera herself, still wearing her ceremonial armor. Her arms folded. Welcome, she said, her deep voice booming across the arena. Tarin approached cautiously. Commander, you brought me here for a reason. I assume. She nodded. You claim humans know endurance. Then prove it. This arena will test you. Tarin stared at her. You locked me in a room because I said I was tired. And now you're dragging me too. What is this? A training ground. A proving ground, she corrected. Among my people. Strength is not in words. It is in what one can endure. Only those who push past their limits earn our respect. Tarin rubbed his temples. Let me guess. If I pass, we talk alliance. If I fail, you will be returned to your quarters. She said simply. That's it. No more diplomacy. No second chance. She tilted her head. Weakness does not get second chances. Tarin felt a spark of irritation, but he pushed it down. This wasn't just about pride. This was about Earth. If passing a ridiculous alien endurance test was what it took to secure humanity's future, then so be it. He straightened his back. Fine. What do I have to do? Vera gestured to the far side of the arena. The floor shifted, revealing a series of obstacles, tall walls, narrow platforms, and spinning columns covered in glowing energy. Complete the course, she said. It will not kill you, but it will push you to the edge of what your fragile body can handle. Tarin stared at it. It looked like a nightmare version of a training ground. You want me to run this? Alone? He asked. Of course, Vera said. Do you wish me to hold your hand? He shot her a look. No, I'll manage. The drones moved closer, their lights focusing on Tarin as if they were judging him already. Tarin took a deep breath. All right, let's get this over with. He stepped onto the course. The moment his foot touched the first platform, the ground shifted beneath him, nearly sending him tumbling. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to keep moving. The first obstacle was a wall taller than anything he had ever climbed. He jumped, grabbing the ledge, his muscles screaming as he pulled himself up. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an athlete. He was a diplomat. But he refused to quit. The second obstacle was worse. Narrow platforms over a deep pit filled with glowing energy. He stepped carefully, his heart pounding, his balance shaky. Halfway through, he heard Vera's voice over the speakers. Do you still wish to rest, Earthling? He growled under his breath. Not a chance. Obstacle after obstacle, Tarin pushed forward. His body ached. His breath came in sharp gasps. But he kept moving. Finally, after what felt like hours, he reached the last platform. Vera was waiting there, watching. You did not quit, she said. Her voice was calm. But there was something new in it. Approval. Tarin dropped onto his knees, gasping for air. That was horrible. Yet you endured, she said. He looked up at her, sweat dripping down his face. Does that mean I pass? Vera stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. You are not as weak as I thought, she said. Tarin forced a tired smile. I'll take that as a compliment. Tarin sat against the cold metal wall, still catching his breath. His body ached from head to toe. But for the first time since this began, he had water and a moment to breathe. He thought Vera might finally let him rest, but she stood nearby, unmoving, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light of the arena. You recover quickly, she said at last. Tarin let out a tired laugh. That's one way of saying you don't look completely dead. Her head tilted slightly. You make jokes even when exhausted. Why? He shrugged. Because if I don't, I'll go crazy. Humor helps us keep going. Vera didn't respond. Instead, she stepped closer, her tall figure casting a shadow over him. Tarin tensed slightly but didn't move. You wish for an alliance, she said. But do you even understand who we are? Tarin looked up at her. You're the Varans, a warrior species, strong, proud. I think I'm starting to get the picture. Her eyes narrowed. You think our people are simple, warriors, fighters. You see only the surface. Tarin raised his hands in a gesture of peace. Then help me understand. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she walked to the center of the arena. She gestured for Tarin to follow. He hesitated, then stood up, stretching his sore legs, and joined her. This arena, she said, her voice echoing against the walls, is not only for trials. It is where our young take their first steps toward becoming Varan, where they learn the weight of our history. Tarin frowned. History? She nodded. Long ago, before we united as one people, the Varans were divided. Tribes fought for control. We destroyed much of our world, nearly wiped ourselves out. Tarin listened closely. He hadn't expected her to share this. What changed? He asked. Endurance, she said simply. The strongest leaders realized survival was not just about strength in battle. It was about enduring hardship, rebuilding after loss, and standing together when everything tried to break us. That is how we became what you see now. Tarin glanced around the arena. So these trials, they're more than just tests. They're cultural. They are tradition, she corrected. Every Varan who wishes to lead, to represent our people, must endure them. If you cannot endure what we demand of our own, how can you call yourself our equal? Tarin let that sink in. He had thought the trials were just a way to humiliate him, to see if the human could keep up. But this was deeper. Why tell me this now? He asked. Vera's gaze hardened. Because you are still thinking like an outsider. If you wish for alliance, you must understand that our respect is not bought with words or trade. It is earned through pain, through action, through endurance. Tarin rubbed his sore arms. Yeah, I'm starting to get that part. Vera ignored his comment. The next trial will not test your body. It will test your spirit. Tarin froze. My spirit? What does that even mean? You will see. He sighed. Of course I will. The drones floated down, projecting a glowing circle. In the center of the arena, stand inside, Vera instructed. Tarin eyed the circle suspiciously. This isn't going to fry me, is it? If you are strong. No, she said. He muttered under his breath. That's not comforting, but stepped inside anyway. The circle flared to life, and suddenly, the arena around him changed. The walls dissolved. The floor shifted. Tarin blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. He was no longer in the arena. He was on Earth. Or at least, a perfect copy of it. He stood in the middle of his old apartment in the city, every detail exactly as he remembered it: the worn couch, the cluttered desk, the photos on the wall. He could even smell the faint scent of coffee. What is this? He whispered. Vera's voice echoed, though she was nowhere in sight. The trial of the mind. It shows you what you cling to most, what you fear losing. Tarin's chest tightened. This isn't real, he said quickly, though his hands trembled as he touched the desk. It felt real. To real, he walked to the window and saw the skyline of a city. He hadn't been home in months. Tarin, Vera's voice rumbled, distant but commanding. You must leave it behind. He turned. What? Walk away, she said. Leave the place you cling to. Leave the memories, only then will you pass. Taran clenched his fists. That's easy for you to say. This is my life, my home. This is an illusion, Vera said, yet you do not want to let it go. That is weakness. Her words cut deep. Taran closed his eyes. This wasn't real. He knew that, but it felt real. Part of him wanted to stay, to sink into the comfort of the familiar. But that wasn't why he came here. He opened his eyes, took a deep breath, and walked to the door. His hand hovered over the handle. Leave, Vera commanded. Taran hesitated. Only a moment longer before opening the door and stepping through. The illusion shattered. The arena returned. The glowing circle faded. Taran stumbled, but caught himself. His heart was still racing. Vera approached, studying him. You left. It wasn't easy, he admitted. But I did. She nodded. You faced yourself. You endured. Taran managed a weak smile. That was the hardest one yet. Good, she said. He sank back to the floor. Please tell me that was the last one. Vera didn't answer. Taran groaned. Of course it's not. But even as exhaustion pressed down on him, he realized something had changed. He wasn't just enduring the trials anymore. He was beginning to understand them. And, in some strange way, he was beginning to understand Vera too. Taran had barely recovered from the trial of the mind when the heavy doors of the arena slid open. He expected another set of drones, maybe another strange illusion. But instead, a tall figure walked in. This one wasn't Vera. The newcomer was broader, wearing dark armor marked with deep red symbols. His eyes glowed a sharper amber, and his movements were quick and deliberate. He stopped a few steps from Taran, looking him up and down like he was sizing up prey. Vera's tone changed when she spoke. Commander Drek. The name alone made Taran tense. Something in the way she said it told him this wasn't a friendly visit. Drek crossed his arms. So this is the Earthling you've been wasting time with? Taran blinked. Nice to meet you too. Drek didn't even look at him. His attention stayed on Vera. You disgrace yourself by entertaining this soft creature. Does our council know you've turned the proving ground into a playground for a human? Taran raised his hand slightly. Standing right here. Neither of them acknowledged him. Vera's voice stayed calm. But there was an edge to it. He has endured 3 trials. He learns quickly. He adapts. Drek let out a low, humorless laugh. Endured? You call these games endurance? You have lowered our standards if this is what impresses you. Taran frowned. Listen, I may not be a super soldier like you guys, but I'm trying. Drek snapped his head toward him. Silence, Earthling. You speak when spoken to. Taran's mouth opened, then closed, for once. He didn't have a joke ready. Vera stepped between them. He is under my command. You will treat him with respect. Drek's glowing eyes narrowed. Respect? For this, I could crush him before he even raised his hands. Taran muttered. Great confidence boost, thanks. Drek ignored him again. If you truly wish for this outsider to stand with us, prove it. Let him face me. The room went silent. Taran blinked. Wait, face you, as in fight you? Drek grinned a sharp, predatory expression. If you survive even 1 minute against me, maybe I will believe you belong here. Taran's stomach dropped. That's not a fair fight. That is the point, Drek said. He stepped into the center of the arena, his armor clinking softly with each movement. He drew a training blade blunt, but still heavy enough to break bones. Vera didn't look at Taran. You can refuse. Taran stared at her. Are you serious? He's twice my size. You can refuse, she repeated. But if you do, his words will spread. They will say humans cannot even stand. Taran groaned. So either I fight him, or I look weak in front of all of you. Vera's expression was unreadable. It is your choice. Taran closed his eyes and muttered, Why do I always make the stupid choice? Then he stepped into the arena. The floor beneath them shifted, creating a flat, open combat space. Drek rolled his shoulders, his blade resting casually at his side. Try not to embarrass yourself. Taran had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his bruised body and shaky legs. He turned to Vera. Any tips? You know, on how to not die. Do not stop moving, she said simply. Right, Easy for you to say. The gong sounded. Drek didn't wait. He moved like a predator, fast despite his size. His blade cut through the air, forcing Tarin to dive out of the way. The first swing would have knocked him out cold. Tarin scrambled to his feet. He couldn't win. He knew that. But surviving, maybe. He kept his distance, circling Drek. Trying to stay just out of reach. You run, Drek growled. Typical. Yeah, because standing still sounds like a terrible plan. Tarin shot back, ducking under another swing. The second blow grazed his shoulder. Pain flared. But he forced himself to keep moving. Drek pressed forward relentlessly. You have no strength. No skill. No right to stand here. Funny, Tarin said between gasps. That's exactly what I used to think about myself too. He spotted one of the drones still floating near the edge of the arena. Its metal arm protruded just enough to grab. When Drek lunged again, Tarin sidestepped, grabbed the drone, and yanked. It let out a sharp beep as he ripped off its arm. A makeshift staff. It wasn't much, but it was something. He turned and raised it. Okay? Now I feel slightly less helpless, Drek smirked. A stick will not save you. Maybe not, Tarin said, but I'm not just here to fight. I'm here to last, and with that, he charged not at Drek directly, but toward his legs. He jabbed low, forcing the larger warrior to adjust. Drek snarled and swung downward, but Tarin rolled to the side, using his smaller size to stay out of reach. He wasn't strong, but he was fast. And if he could frustrate Drek, maybe that would keep him alive. The fight dragged on for what felt like hours. In reality, it was only a few minutes. Tarin's arms ached from blocking. His legs felt like lead. But he hadn't fallen. Drek's attacks grew more aggressive. Enough games. He swung hard, and Tarin barely managed to block. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, his makeshift staff cracking in half. Drek stood over him, pathetic. Tarin coughed, his body refusing to get up. But then he saw Vera, standing at the edge of the arena. Her arms crossed. She didn't look worried. She looked expectant. Tarin realized something. This wasn't about winning. It wasn't even about fighting back. It was about getting up, even when it hurt, even when it felt impossible. He planted his hands on the floor and pushed himself up. His arms shook. His legs wobbled. But he stood. Drek's grin faded slightly. Still standing, Tarin said, his voice hoarse but steady. Not bad for a soft earthling. The gong sounded again. Vera's voice rang out. Enough. The trial is over. Drek stepped back, his expression unreadable. Tarin staggered toward the edge of the arena, every muscle screaming. Vera met him. There, you lasted. Barely, Tarin said, panting. But I'll take it. For the first time since they met, Vera placed a hand on his shoulder. Perhaps you were not so weak after all. Tarin managed a tired grin. Best compliment I've had all week. Tarin lay on the cold bench in the training room, staring at the ceiling. Every muscle in his body ached. His arms were sore from blocking Drek's blows. His legs felt like they had been filled with concrete, and his ribs still throbbed from where the blunt blade had struck him. But he was alive. Barely. He turned his head and saw Vera standing by the wall, as still as a statue. She had been there since the fight ended, saying nothing. Do you just stand there watching people suffer, or is this your version of a comforting presence? Tarin said weakly, her head tilted slightly. You joke again, even after pain. That's kind of my thing, Tarin muttered. If I stop making jokes, it means I'm probably unconscious. Vera didn't smile, but she stepped closer. You did not fight like a Varen, but you endured. I'm going to assume that's a compliment. It is. Tarin let out a tired laugh. Great. That means I'm slowly leveling up from soft creature to barely acceptable. Vera didn't answer, but her expression softened slightly. The silence stretched until Tarin finally said, So, who was that guy, Drek? He didn't seem like he was here to shake hands and trade stories. Vera's gaze shifted to the floor. Commander Drek is from the Bloodcrest Division, one of the old warrior lines. He serves the High Council directly. Tarin frowned. And he doesn't like me. He does not like outsiders, especially those he believes are beneath him. Good to know I made a strong first impression. Vera's voice grew quieter. His arrival means the council is watching. That made Taran sit up despite the pain. Watching. What does that mean for us? It means, she said slowly, that they do not trust this alliance. They do not trust me for bringing you here, and they do not trust you for surviving. When you should have failed. Taran blinked. So let me get this straight. I fight, I bleed. I nearly break myself trying to prove I can handle these trials. And now the people in charge think that's suspicious. Vera didn't answer. She didn't need to. Taran sighed. Of course, perfect. Just what I needed. More people rooting for me to fail. For the first time since they met, Vera sat beside him on the bench. She didn't look at him when she spoke. Why do you continue? Taran raised an eyebrow. What? You could have walked away. When I locked the door. When the trials began, even against Drek. Yet you remain. Why? Taran leaned back against the wall, staring at the floor. He thought for a long moment before answering. Because this matters. He said finally, because if I walk away, it's not just me failing. It's my people, my planet, my chance to prove we're worth something. To you? Vera studied him carefully. He continued, his voice lower now. Back home. People like me. We don't usually end up in rooms like this. We don't get to make big decisions. We don't stand in front of alien councils. I'm just some guy who said yes to an impossible job. But if I can pull this off, if I can earn even a little bit of respect here, maybe humans will finally be more than just a footnote to the rest of the galaxy. Vera didn't speak right away. You are not as soft as you appear, she said at last. Taran let out a small laugh. That almost sounded like encouragement. Perhaps it was. Before Taran could say more, the heavy door slid open again. This time, two armored Varens stepped inside. One of them spoke, his voice deep and sharp. Representative Vera, the High Council summons you. Vera stood immediately. I expected this. The guard's gaze shifted to Taran. And the human. Taran blinked. Wait, me? They want me too. Yes, the guard said. You? We'll both stand before the council. Taran muttered under his breath. Oh great, just what I needed. Public speaking in front of angry alien politicians. The walk to the council chamber felt longer than any trial. The halls were lined with glowing red symbols, each one carved into black stone. Tall armored Varens stood silently at every corner, their eyes following Taran with cold curiosity. Finally, they reached massive double doors that opened with a deep hiss inside. The chamber was enormous, circular. The walls climbed high into darkness, and a wide platform in the center glowed faintly beneath their feet, round them. Towering figures sat in high seats, Varens of different sizes and markings. Their armor covered in intricate designs that made Drek seem plain. This was the council. Taran felt very small. One of them leaned forward. Representative Vera, you bring before us an Earthling who dares claim he can endure our trials. Vera bowed slightly. Yes, High Counselor. He has survived for trials and faced Commander Drek. He has proven his will. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Another counselor spoke, her voice sharper than the first. This is no place for humans. You risk dishonoring our traditions by allowing an outsider to step into our proving grounds. Taran stepped forward before he could stop himself. With all due respect, I didn't come here to dishonor anything. I came here to earn your respect. I'm not pretending to be one of you. I'm just trying to prove that humans can be more than what you think we are. The chamber fell silent. Then a deep, rumbling voice echoed from the largest seat. You claim you seek respect, the voice said. Then you will face the final trial. Taran's throat went dry. Final trial. The voice continued. If you endure it, perhaps we will consider your people worthy of alliance. If you fail, you will leave this place in disgrace. Vera stepped forward. High Counselor, he is not ready. Enough, the voice thundered. It is decided. Taran's heart pounded. He looked at Vera. Her expression was unreadable, but her voice was steady. Then we will prepare. As they left the chamber, Taran let out a shaky laugh. Why do I feel like final trial is code for you're probably not coming back? Vera didn't answer. which, somehow, made him even more nervous. Tarin stood in the center of a wide, circular arena, his heart pounding so loudly that it drowned out the hum of the glowing floor beneath him. This was it, the final trial. The air smelled faintly of metal and something sharp ozone, maybe, or the residue of energy weapons. He tried not to imagine all the warriors who had stood here before him. How many had failed? And what happened to those who did? Vera stood beside him, her expression hard, but her hands behind her back were tight, almost clenched. She didn't like this any more than he did. "What do I need to know?" Tarin whispered. Vera didn't look at him. "Do not underestimate what is coming. The final trial is not strength. It is not speed. It is everything. Body, mind, and will." "Yeah," Tarin muttered. "Sounds great. Totally ready for that." She glanced at him finally. "Remember what you told me in the training room. Why you continue? Hold on to that." Before Tarin could answer, a deep, rumbling voice echoed through the arena. "Earthling, you stand before us for the last time, survive this trial, and you will have earned your place. Fail, and you will leave in disgrace. Begin." The floor beneath Tarin shifted suddenly, plates moving apart like puzzle pieces. The arena transformed in seconds. Jagged stone pillars rose from the ground. Gaps appeared between platforms, some so wide that they looked impossible to jump. Energy barriers flickered at the edges, humming with deadly force, and then the creatures appeared. They weren't drones. They weren't warriors. They were something else. Tall, insect-like beasts with sharp claws and glowing green eyes crawled out from the shadows. There were 3 at first, then 5, then more. They hissed in unison, their voices like scraping metal. Tarin froze. "Oh, good, alien bug monsters. Just what I needed today." Vera stepped back. "This is yours alone." "What?" He spun toward her. "Wait, you're not helping." Her face was unreadable. "It is your trial." Tarin groaned. "Of course it is." The first creature lunged. Tarin barely rolled out of the way before its claws dug into the ground where he'd been standing. He scrambled to his feet and grabbed a loose chunk of stone. "Okay," he muttered. "Let's see if Earth baseball skills are good for anything." He hurled the rock. It hit the creature in the head, not enough to do serious damage, but enough to make it screech and stumble. Another came at him from the side. Tarin ducked under its swipe, his heart racing. He had no weapons, no armor, just himself. So he did the only thing he could. He ran. The trial wasn't just about fighting, it was about surviving. The arena forced him to keep moving, leaping across platforms, sliding under stone ledges, dodging claws that came too close for comfort. He found a long, jagged piece of metal sticking out from one of the platforms and yanked it free. It wasn't a real weapon, but it was something. When the next creature lunged, he jabbed upward. The makeshift spear hit its shoulder, making it screech in pain. But there were still more coming. His legs burned, his lungs ached, but Tarin kept going every time he wanted to stop. He remembered Vera's words. He remembered why he was here. This wasn't just about him. It was about proving humans deserved to stand among them. The creatures grew faster, smarter. They started cutting him off, forcing him toward the center platform. His hand shook as he tightened his grip on the metal shard. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "If this is it, I'm going out swinging." The next one lunged. Tarin didn't dodge. He planted his feet, sidestepped at the last second, and drove the shard upward. It hit deep, and the creature collapsed with a shriek. He didn't even have time to breathe before the next one came, and the next, and the next. Minutes blurred into what felt like hours. Tarin's arms ached so much he could barely lift his weapon. His legs felt like they would give out any second. He was covered in sweat, dust, and shallow cuts. But then, slowly, the creatures began to retreat. The floor shifted again. The jagged platforms sliding back into a flat arena. The green-eyed beasts vanished into the shadows. It was over. Tarin dropped to his knees, gasping for air. Still alive. He muttered. "Didn't think that would happen?" The deep voice of the High Counselor echoed again. "The Earthling has endured. He has faced fear, pain, and death, and stands." A long pause followed. Then, perhaps humans are not as weak as we believed. Taring let out a tired laugh. Thanks, I think. Vera approached him, offering her hand. You survived. He took it, letting her pull him to his feet. Barely. But yeah. Her tone softened slightly. You have done more than survive. You have earned the respect. And mine. Taring blinked. Wait, did you just compliment me? Like an actual compliment? Do not let it go to your head, she said, but there was a hint of amusement in her voice. Taring grinned despite the pain. Too late, as they left the arena together. Taring glanced back one last time. He'd come here as nothing more than a tired, ordinary human who just wanted to get through the day. Now, he didn't know what he was yet, but for the first time since this all began, he felt like he belonged. And maybe, just maybe, humans had a place among the stars after all.